Hey yogi friends, Kit Kat here, and I am going to read you my blogs because sometimes it's nice to have someone read you a story, and also maybe you're just too lazy to go to my website and read it yourself. Without further ado, let's get started. My life in Bali, Kitty Goes Adventuring, June 29, 2020. With all this COVID palaver, one would be forgiven for forgetting that there was a whole world outside of your four walls, your backyard, and if you are lucky, your fancy dress ISO bin outing. But I'm even here on Bali, the deserted tropical island of your dreams. Whilst our tourist attractions may not be open, the roads are, albeit some of them in desperate need of an upgrade. But that is part of the island of the gods' charm, and I really don't want to experience Bali from a superhighway, one that far removes you from the sleepy little villages and one-man shack coffee stops overlooking the brilliant green jungly ravines. Part of learning to ride sepeda-moto, or scooter, was to get out and experience my Indonesian independence, detour down rocky roads, let go of a need to be, have, or do anything, and just see where the roads take me, with an end destination in mind, of course. I've made myself some low-key rules: wearing the clothes on my back, a cozy, a change of undies, pair and a spare, wash and wear, one yoga ensemble, a sarong, and my trusty flannel, which is an Aussie staple, which I bought when I was with my daughter in New York earlier this year, in a bubble of pre-COVID happiness. I wear it nearly every day and have super fond memories of us spending way too much time in every muji in New York City. Come to think of it, my flannel prior to this one was purchased when CJ and I went on a trip to Paris. Not very Australian really then, are they? My trusty travel yoga mat didn't make the cut. We really can asana sans mat, and it didn't really fit under the Scooby seat. When I tell my village people that I'm off to the other side of the island, they tell me to hearty, be careful, to plan, go slow. And then most of them admit to never having left the village in which we live. They don't even go to the Canggu. This village, their family, it's all within a 5-minute meander. Explaining that a 3-hour drive, which I will magically turn into 7 hours, is nothing. Heck, I used to drive 3 hours, or 270 kilometres from El Questro to the city of Kununurra every week just for groceries. That's madness, they say, shaking their heads. Many of them will never see the sunset from Lavina, and they are fine with that. So why do some of us just have this absolute burning desire to get out, see stuff, and adventure and experience worlds beyond the backyards where we grazed our knees as kids? My first port of call is Baby Revolver for an espresso lift-off. Once I've imbibed my caffeine accelerator, I'm off and riding. I'm not a speed demon by any stretch of the imagination, more like Super Granny without the grandkids. First stop is Papuan, where somewhere in Tabanan, I put it into Google Maps and select the longest journey, the one that will make me see the most back roads. It's not a hard drive off the main stretch of truck-laden roadways. This first stretch is the main road to Gilimanuk, the port that ferries you over to Java. Out of the diesel haze, it's quiet. I wind through villages and riced terraced roads with roaming chickens, barky dogs, and kids with kites. There's still no school here in Bali, possibly not till December. The parents of these competitive little kite flyers have probably said the Balinese equivalent of go play on the road, or go fly a kite, two euphemisms my mother would use when she really wanted to tell us to fuck off, when she'd had just about enough of us. Clearly, these kids took those instructions literally, unlike us back home. It's the darrowly rocky road of roads, uphill and down dale. My breath is taken away once by a large kite being carried by a bloke on the back of a bike with another bloke on the bike, and I had to duck not to get decapitated by their enormous purple flapping fish kite as they whizzed by laughing. But thankfully, mostly my breath was taken away by the view. On more than 10 occasions, I stopped to deeply inhale the fresh, mountainy air and admire the greener than green terraces that cover the hilly terrain, some with subac that are creating large waterfalls. People are working in the fields and I'm just a distant observer. These are the storybook dreamy Bali views, complete with gently drifting magical smoke haze. After a while, I notice that I'm not the lone observer. Even at places that I don't stop, I see that locals find a shady roadside spot with a view and rest up on their bikes to sit, observe, ponder, meditate, or just take in the view. Maybe smoke a ciggy if you're a bloke. I think this is the Balinese equivalent of me time or self-care. I super love seeing it. It makes me smile. I feel so happy. It's like a Balinese time out. I'm pretty sure that the Balinese could stare off into the distance forever and a day. My happiness is dulled slightly as I arrive in Pupuan. Feeling a little peckish, I stop in at a warung overlooking a mountain village. Wearing my masker, I ask an Indonesian lady if I could order some food. The lady promptly looks me up and down and not so politely tells me she is not cooking for bule. Taken aback a little, I say nothing because I'm pretty much checking and rechecking my translating skills, confirming what I just heard. I heard right. She ain't serving no bule. I wander over the road to a coffee shop that actually turns out to be a coffee wholesaler who redirects me back across the road. Ugh. I kind of explain the sitch and he apologises and tells me there's a bigger town not too far away. I thank him and ride on. I'm so grateful that she refused to serve me because I discover quite possibly my favourite snack stall in Bali. Okay, it's true, nearly all of them are my favourite. 3 mini lumpia or spring rolls later and whole chilies that you bite at your own risk before biting into the spring roll. 4 bite-sized donuts, and some kui. I chat with a very busy stall owner and it appears that she is now feeding the whole town. My tummy is very happy. I have a few roadies bagged up and I pop another mini donut behind my masker. Thank her and ride on. Appreciation shout out to the universe for the grander plan that it had in gifting me with the earlier refusal of service. Another couple of kilometres down the track, I stop at a picturesque terrace that has a warung wedged right up in alongside of it. I think of this as Bali coffee time, and I can just so that I can stop and sit on a non-vibrating seat. I request my coffee and start salivating as I look at the food on display. If I hadn't just eaten my weight in donuts and spring rolls, I would have eaten it for sure. It looked and smelled amazing, and Ibu was certainly disappointed that I didn't order food, even though she laughed as I listed for her my recently consumed snack items. I immediately began to plan for another roadside trip just to experience her cooking. Rest stopover, misguided by Suri who loves an off-map adventure. We go a few wrong ways, but I don't mind. I see a kid battle a kite so big it towers over his Reiki frame. He is 10 rice terraces up a hillside yelling down to his kite string winding buddies. The air is filled with the delicious scent of cloves drying on the roadside, and I putt past more rice terraces, chickens, villages, and happiness. It's all just bloody spectacular, really. No one seems sad. There are no masks and no further mention of the Rona. In fact, this whole 7-hour roadside trip, I'm not hand sanitised, stopped or sprayed or held in a 30-second hostage-style scenario with a temperature gun to the forehead. I feel free. I feel free. I feel free. Eventually enough, bumpy hills under my butt, I feel the call of the hot springs, thinking that this will be a lovely, well-earned sidebar after the 6 hours of bumpity-bump butt riding, but no, it's shut. A single tear slides down my cheek. It's a ghost town. The hot springs are still bubbling away without the sighs of the locals and the multilinguistic boule exchanges. The townsfolk who are here are disappointed and sad. They want their lives back. I don't think it's just about the loss of income. It's the loss of social networking, the actual interactions, the human contact. It's just sad. With the decrease in tourism here, my view is that at least we open up the services to the people that remain on the island and let the locals get some of the revenue back and a renewed sense of purpose. Lavina. For the love of God, don't go to the main tourist strip of Lavina. I don't even get off my bike before I'm offered some mushrooms, a beach party, dolphin tours, rooms, beers, other tours, snorkeling, jewelry. I'm properly informed that everything shuts at 6, so shop and eat early. Dude, so intense. Talk about intense. I leave the strip pondering the fact that there are only about 5 other boules sitting around a bar here, so I'm not sure who would have been my party pals. I drive back down the road to a spot where I saw a couple maybe open or not open homestays. I pick a dodgy one right on the beach with a few raggedy rattan-caged territorial roosters. It's delightfully shitty and has a sink that never got plumbed in. I promise won't move in, but it's perfect for an overnighter and the bed was super comfy. It's 15 metres to the ocean. Before long, there's a visitor at my veranda offering me a sunrise dolphin boat trip. It's not the $20 I'm arguing about with myself in my head, it's the 6 a.m. start. I decide my lazy ass could do with an early morning up and at 'em. I immediately wonder if my veranda guest will be the purveyor of 6 a.m. caffeine. I think not. I agree to aforementioned 6 a.m. start, shake hands with Jody, my morning captain, and head off down the beach for sunset. I'm not disappointed, the sunset is nothing short of spectacular. Families, kids playing in the muddy volcanic sand, and people wading in and out of the shallows. Further down the beach, there's a group of guys who have ridden their scooters onto the beach and they are practicing wheelies. It's both impressive and dangerous. Walking home, I'm thinking that having a dinner is a good idea, except that it's after 6:30 p.m. I was warned about nothing being open, and it's bloody well true. Nothing is open in Bali. When it gets hot in the afternoon, it can be a sleepy afternoon siesta kind of island. Come 5:30, normally everyone is reawakened by the promise of sundown and cooler evenings. However, the Rona has killed the evening pulse. I feel like there's an entire part of the culture that's just been given the chop. It doesn't really seem right. I wish the powers would stitch it back in. I don't really think that the virus can tell the difference between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. or 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Can it? My sleep is filled with the noises of crowing roosters. I think it's one. In my dreamless, chicken-invaded sleep, I start to identify their different crows. I get to 8 individual angry-ass crow calls. I wake up. The chook count is not 8. It's actually 12. And those noisy night sleep fuckers are 5 minutes from my front door. Jody is 10 minutes early. He does not have coffee. I dig deep to find my inner nice kitty. Remaining silent until 3 minutes after we push the boat out, and the sky starts to explode. My Little Pony in a My Little Pony inspired pastel palette of colours. You cannot help but be happy witnessing the break of dawn, except that 18 months before my move to Bali, where I used to get up and serve grumpy night shift people coffee at 4 a.m, I would sneak out to watch the sunrise, sensing its beauty was wasted on them and that I was trapped making angry chinos, but not anymore. There are other boats with peeps out enjoying the morning and praying for dolphins. iPhones on the ready. There are dolphins. We all squeal with delight and they ride the waves and glide in and out of the water. I find myself chanting on the inside, Sea World, Sea World, Sea World, hoping that a dolphin will leap up SeaWorld style and Little Mermaid silhouette against the morning sun. It never happens. Alas, this dream fades and I do have a 3-second clip of an actual dolphin. I swear. I'm going to Photoshop a dolphin into my sunshot. See cover shot. We will head home. I need coffee. I need the bathroom. My morning is so out of order. I find a cafe come Zen art space that promises espresso coffee. It's espresso, but unfortunately the precious beans have been destroyed and it's not even close to drinkable. Swan statues and a waterfall do not a good coffee make. I head back to my chook-infested sleep spot and get my asana on. It's sweaty business at 10 a.m, fresh salty sea air and ocean breeze. It's not hard to enjoy my outdoor seaside flow. By midday, waving adios amigos to the fighting rooster breeding program, I'm on my way on the road to Singaraja. I don't remember how far it is, so I grab a roadside snack, yum yum yum, nasi jingo, and it's a massive 15 minutes on the road and I'm already in Singaraja. Singaraja is an anomaly. It's kind of like old school Singapore with a bit of Kochi in India thrown in. Kuala Lumpur 35 years ago, all campur mixed in. It doesn't really feel like Bali, but everything's decidedly Balinese. It's grotty and grubby. I immediately love it, but don't want to live in it. I get someone to take a look at my bike because it's been making a few weird noises, and just to make sure that my brakes are good to go after all my uphill down dale adventures. I get some air in my tyres and the brakes looked good. I had a small part replaced and I'm good to go. Cost me a whole $1.50. Singaraja has some great pasars markets. They are currently in the process of building one of the biggest markets in Bali. It will be a monster market, but I love the sprawling clusters and I don't know where I am. I don't know where I amness of the whole rat-infested pasar. It's kind of like this mess of stalls here and there, and you never really know what you're going to turn up as you turn a corner. The yelling from vendors will be the same. in the new pasar, but the dynamic will shift and people will have to form new networks based on their new locations. This change will be good, but the energy of the space will be lost with this progress. I know how progressively I, however, progressively eat way too much as I meander through the stalls, my eyes being bigger than my belly, thinking to myself that each stall looks more delicious than the next. Eventually I meet up with a friend who is 3 hours behind his own schedule. If I ever thought I was tardy, he makes me look like an Olympic timekeeper. We check into our rooms of a hotel. The hotel, by my previous standards, is a little bit fancy. It has a pool and is 20 metres from the beach. We can't see it, but for a not so tastily painted brick wall that blocks the view of the beach. It's hot, so we have a swim, then do a quick load of washing in the bucket in the shower, standard MO when you're travelling. Then we're off to get some food that I will eat, but seriously don't need to. We attempt to find a warung. It's like a scene from Lampoon's Vacation, where we end up riding through a pasar, down a small laneway, with me apologising for squeezing us on scooters through their outdoor lane party, and they're laughing, haha, bulagilla, crazy white folk. Eventually we wind up in the lady's front yard. We blame Suri, but are too busy laughing with the lady and her kids to be angry or hangry. She's laughing at the crazy bulle too, and gives us instructions where we get to the warung that we wanted to be, and it's closed. Bloody perfect. We head down to the pier for a roam and soon realise that we are the only bulle in town and have walked right into and got tangled in a kid's kite string in a local kite competition. Thankfully we didn't ruin his chances and there was a fair whack of showing off. If you are over 10 and don't have a kite, there's a lot of sitting around with your mates. We keep roaming right up to the motorbike that has live fish in plastic bags on display on racking on the bike, which is dual purpose, selling ice cream. An interesting combo, you might say. I think it's a cooling system for the fish. He plays music worse than Mr. Whippy's Greensleeves as it interrupts your peaceful Sunday morning suburban sleep-in. I take a video so that I can annoy people with it on future social media posts. Eventually we pick a dodgy stall that is busy serving amazing tibat chantok, cold pressed rice with vegetables and peanut sauce. It's an awesome vegetarian snack. I mentally create a version of this with hot, crispy tempeh goreng. Did I mention how much I love food? The next morning I ride my scooter to the beach not knowing that it was only a mere 20 metres away. This is so Balinese of me. Why walk when you can ride? I swear the shape of my ass has changed and I have put on weight since getting the scooter. I walk along the beach and pick up an actual pumice stone from actual nature and an old coin that's washed up and revealed itself to me in the smoky quartz sparkling sand. This will be going straight to my altar at home. I walk a little further and see that someone has randomly built a sunset fishing deck match. I walk a little further and see that someone else has built a larger deck with a swing over the ocean. A moment of childlike bliss. As I realise that swing is free, I hop on and enjoy a swing over the ocean. I take a time out here to swing in the breeze and think appreciation thoughts for this adventure and the risk that I supposedly took on staying in Bali during COVID. I definitely feel blessed, not stressed. I'm actually for once feeling hungry, but I wish to placate my hunger with coffee first. Not risking sad espresso, we opt for a morning man chat copy Bali in the pasar. It's the best. It's where all the gossip is. You can ask and have answered all manner of questions. It's almost like nothing's off the table. You also meet and observe interesting people. The coffee was super strong and we tasted good local koi or sweets. Watched a man down a whole raw duck egg because it was going to make him more strong. These words came with a cursory nod and a wink to his below waist pants covered region. There was also a man rocking a weird trend wearing his glasses upside down. I tried it, it's not really me. We sat there for the best part of 2 hours and I wouldn't have swapped it for any espresso. This is the heart of the morning, where the action is and the answers to many of life's questions are. Sunday mid-morning I knew that I had to drive back and it should be about 3 hours. Nana time though, at least 4 with all my stops, make it 5, probably 6. And I wanted to make it home before dark. By this stage we were actually hungry like for real, so a couple of distraction stops, like one for Onde that were pink fried and delicious. Honestly, I think I need to be trained like a racehorse and get some blinkers, but I would genuinely hate to miss a tasty new treat. Interesting accompanying story from the roadside. Eventually we find a good vegetarian food stall, not an easy task. When the Balinese add out, they want to eat meat and sugar. It's a display of prosperity. We order our veggies, which I now do not need to eat after the Onde. Lunch done, my friend and I part ways and I head up the mountain. This route will take me home via Kintamani and Ubud. It's a pretty quick and steep ascent and quite literally into the clouds. Within 45 minutes of starting home, I feel like I was in another country. But I just had a swim. I'm sweating. How high up am I? I'm freezing. I buttoned up my flannel and I was looking for a beanie in glove stalls. I stopped mid-cloud for a coffee break just to sit and be in the cloud at a roadside shack with a view currently obscured by clouds down a mountainside. Crazy that these two situations exist side by side. The beach where we were just swimming and this in-cloud mountain action. The drive home was busier, easier, and not as pretty as my drive to Lavina, but I just want out of the cold and back to the warmth of the rice paddy paradise. Eventually I wind my way into the busyness of the Ubud and straight back out again. Seminyak is only 45 minutes away and I will be home before sunset. I promised a friend in Sweden that I would stop and buy a crazy face mask. I haven't seen a mask store since I drove through Kurubakan 2 days prior. Back in the big smoke, there are plenty on offer. I buy myself what I can only describe as an Italian pirate looking half a man's face on a mask. I giggle at the fun I will have singing to my daughter happy birthday in Italian wearing that mask. I make the video when I get home and I sent it to her. She thought it was hilarious. I'm already planning my next adventure. If you would love to hear some of your favourite adventures, or maybe you have a tip-top secret location for me to visit in Bali, please let me know. You can check out all the snaps from my trip on the gram at Adventures of KitKat or at perfectly_imperfect yogis. The end.